Good evening, folks. Daniel once again from Driving and Dragons, and we are back again with D&D Reacts to Guildmaster Dan, 10-year-old videos on alignment, but they just so happen to be ones that run just close enough to the series that I've put forth that they can help us all expand our understanding and maybe connect the dots between the incredibly flawed and terrible alignment arguments and descriptions and stuff you see online and the ones that I put forth that are actually functional and are the optimal use of the system. So Dan is moving on to chaotic good today. So we're going to talk about some chaotic good. If you haven't seen him already, I've got his, his kind of primer, and I've got his chaotic evil video already up. For those of you who are members, you will be picking up whatever his next video is at the same time as this one goes live. For those of you who are not members, members got this video back when you were first getting to look at chaotic evil. So check out the membership down there. Maybe get these a little bit earlier. Anyway, Corvid Codex, check it out, guys. Volume 1 is definitely live. July 1st, we get Volume 2. We are trying to produce the kind of pulp stories that are entertaining, that give you the things you're missing from Hollywood and from what's put out there already, and the kind of things that can enhance your game. The stories you can read. We've actually been toying with the idea of maybe even taking some of our stories and converting them into some modules or some adventure packs or whatnot that you can pick up as well. I'll let you know as things move forward on that. But anyway, while you're here, like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Remember that the membership and Patreon and super chats and all that stuff comes back into the channel to support the projects we have, in particular the car restoration projects, to give those away and to just give back to people in the hobby. Anyway, we're going to move forward. We're going to talk about old Guildmaster Dan and what he has to say about chaotic good. If you haven't seen my videos on alignment, check out the playlist. I'll make sure it's linked. It's worth your time. Even if you don't play games that use alignment, you can use these with your characters to develop a greater variety of deeper characters that are more engaging to play and have more that you can discover about them as you play the game, which is going to lead to you not getting bored with your characters quite as often. While you're at it, drop down into the comment section and give me your thoughts, because really that's the best part of the channel, is having the discussions in the comment section. Because one thing that's great and one thing that I really love is I've almost never had to pull somebody out of my comment section to go into intelligence as a dump stat on Monday. More unlike, X, where virtually every comment or every conversation or thread ends up with at least one person who deserves a spot on that list. Anyway, let's get cracking. Let's see what old Guildmaster Dan has to say about chaotic good. Just saw another bad one. They had Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty, the Disney Sleeping Beauty down there in Chaotic Evil. There's nothing chaotic evil about Maleficent. She's the definition of lawful. She's essentially a corruption of the good king's kingdom.
Chaotic good is one of the more nebulous alignments because it almost seems like an oxymoron. Most people tend to consider it the realm of brutal heroes, the ones that don't mind smashing a few skulls for the greater good. Just as in the last segment, these sorts of characters can fit into the alignment. However, Our new terminology allows for it to be a bit more broad than that. We are dealing with selfless individuals who are unprincipled, people who believe in little but are compelled to do good anyway.
This is kind of where his unprincipled starts to fall apart because, and this is the reason why I don't necessarily like the terminology unprincipled. Unethical is a little bit better. But the more I think about it, the more I think it's more like impulsive good. The long and short of it is that this person who is chaotic good has no adherence to social norms, has no adherence to established tradition, and really has no thought of the future. It's just, how can I do the most good, or how can I do the best for everyone? How can I give the most to others in this particular instance, regardless of the situation or what's right or wrong or what's taboo or not taboo? It is the impulsive need to do good. And I'll give you an example of where chaotic good goes wrong. Chaotic good goes wrong in the guy who gives freely large amounts of money or help or assistance to the homeless drug addict, knowing, without any thought for the fact that that person you're just enabling them to continue to be a homeless drug addict, as opposed to the lawful good character who would still want to help that person, but is going to impose restrictions such as you have to go to the shelter that won't let you have drugs, that has a curfew that requires you to be in there, that doesn't let you have your phone while you're in there so that you can't contact drug dealers or do other things that makes you get clean. My help has conditions in order to actually help you as opposed to enable you. My chaotic good character just says, well, the person's starving right now, so he needs food. Even if all I'm doing is enabling him to continue to do more wrong, or I'm hurting him in the long run, I'm helping him in the short run.
This is odd when compared to many of the other alignments, as it almost seems to describe a lack of motivation. How can someone who doesn't believe in ideals such as justice and freedom still act for the sake of others? Well, our examples today can help us shed a little light on the issue. Our first example is not only defiant to his superiors, but every waking breath is a little spit in the face to every member of his kind. Our first example of chaotic good is Hellboy. Hellboy is a man born to do evil, but raised to be good. He's ashamed of his demonic blood and serves his adopted father in the Bureau for Paranormal Research and Defense by helping to protect humanity from the things above in the night. What makes him chaotic is that despite saving humans on a regular basis, Hellboy doesn't really believe in his cause. He knows that humans can be just as bad, if not worse, than the things he fights against. His relationship with most people, be they human or otherwise, is typically cynical at best. Further, he's not really the type of man who dwells on things such as morality, honor, or responsibility. Big Red is very much a man who acts on his feelings in any given situation. Yet what makes him good is his deep-seated need to live up to the ones that he loves. The two main driving forces for Hellboy are the love of his father and Liz and his shame of being a demon. He strives to protect the innocent and to be honorable, not because he believes in these notions, but because he wants to make his loved ones proud. Our next example...
I'm not so certain. Like I said, Hellboy is not one that I know a ton about. Video or comic books are not my thing. But as he described it, that's not really why he would be chaotic good. Because good is being selfless. It doesn't have to do with you. It has to do with putting others first and always putting others first. And chaotic has to do with basically doing it in the short term and doing it regardless of, the way things need to be done. For instance, I'm going to give the person this food from the shelf, and then I'll go to the store, the storekeeper or whatever, and work out how it's going to get paid for if I don't have the money, or pay for it myself later. But right now, this person needs this. Like, I'm going to rip the bandages off the shelf and I'm going to bandage up their wounds, and then I'll go to the storekeeper later and figure it out. As opposed to, say, lawful good, who's like, hey, go pay the shopkeeper. I'm going to grab, or asking the shopkeeper about grabbing these bandages first. The long and short of it is that, he's definitely chaotic, at least as described by old Guildmaster Dan here. But he's trying to live up to these principles he was taught. That's where you start getting into the surface level nonsense. What it really is that because of his raising, because of his breeding, because of, or not his breeding, but because of his raising, because of the influence of his father and that sort of thing, he has had instilled in him an idea for doing what's best for others. And he does it even knowing that maybe sometimes, like, he's almost like a very aware chaotic good, where it's, I know that this person right here is probably going to spend this money on dope, but at least I'm giving him the opportunity to go get food or a hotel room or whatever the case may be. I'm going to give him a ride here to the homeless shelter because at least it gives him the opportunity to be in a better, safer place, even if I'm pretty certain all he's really doing is going to get drugs because he's meeting somebody there.
Similarly finds himself compelled to selfless acts, though against his better judgment. Able to make the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs, our second example is Han Solo. The captain of the Millennium Falcon would tend to agree with the gamers who would claim that he's chaotic neutral. He views himself as a smuggler who's nowhere near as dirty as a Hutt, but still looks out for himself first.
So I think this is absolutely accurate. I think that Han Solo, let's just take A New Hope. We're only going to take episode 4. We're not going to take any of the Solo movie or even any of the expanded universe books or anything about his history. I don't think he was ever really chaotic neutral. Okay. I think he may have behaved in a chaotic neutral fashion. I think he may have been a cynic who pushed himself that way, mainly because it's like, I'm chaotic neutral because I'm always dealing with evil. And so as a result, I'm never I've gotten to the point where doing good for others doesn't have any good. But you can tell starting in episode 4, he's very firmly chaotic good. He puts on airs. He puts on a front. He acts more selfish. But every time the opportunity arises to make a choice, he kind of shrugs his shoulders and, oh my God, bro, and grumbles about it. But he always puts others ahead of himself. And that means he is chaotic good. So I would say that Han Solo coming into it is a chaotic good character who is driven by cynicism and is constantly warring against his good nature. And he's definitely chaotic. There's no doubt about that. He is chaotic. He's constantly working around the norms. He doesn't really care about how he gets how he goes about getting things accomplished. So I think he is a good example of chaotic in the way it's intended.
Unfortunately for Han, throughout the original Star Wars trilogy, we see him continually put himself in danger to help others, even though he knows that it would be more profitable for him to just cut and run. He doesn't really believe in the rebel cause or even in keeping his word. So why does he keep trying to leave and dragging himself back every time? The simple fact is that despite himself, Han cares for others. He wants to be detached and free to only care for himself. He wants to be chaotic neutral. But whenever Chewbacca, Luke, or Leia are in trouble, he'll groan, save them, and then tell them that they owe him. Some might argue that he's more selfish than that he helps the Rebel Alliance because he wants Leia, and helping the cause is the best way to win her. I can see the logic in this argument if it wasn't for the fact that he was ready to give her up in The Return of the Jedi. He actually tells Leia that if she wants to be with Luke, he won't stand in their way. Han, I'm afraid, is too squishy for his own swagger. What these two men have in common tells us a great deal about the motivations of an unprincipled, selfless character. They both have a cynical view of how the world works, born from their difficult pasts. This has caused them to be distrustful of organization and to view concepts such as honor and justice as shallow concepts that only chumps cling to. Yet despite this, both men are driven by key individuals and moments in their lives to help others. They don't hold any ideals dear, they hold people dear. It's this sort of motivation that leads so many chaotic good characters to do the necessary ugly things to protect those around them. So now that we've taken a look at both chaotic extremes, and we've seen Deadpool and Han Solo wander away from their expected roles, next time why don't we take a look and see what it means to be chaotic neutral?
Okay. So before we go to chaotic neutral and take a look at that, which it's interesting that he's going down the ethical side of things as opposed to the moral side of things like I did. That's a fun little difference between the two series. One thing I do want to point out here in his descriptions, this is where he starts to filter more into that being too shallow and too surface level. Notice how he said that, oh, they're putting the people above the principle. It's about the people. You can put the people there and still be evil. Okay. An evil person can do things to quote unquote help their friend, but it's because it's their friend. Instead of emphasis being their friend, the emphasis is their friend. The emphasis is on their, possessive. It's about them and this person that they possess as a friend, as somebody who is dear and close to them. They can do great evil because of that personal connection. They don't have to do putting people first has nothing to do with it. It has to do with putting others in general ahead of yourself, which is what Han Solo does. It's not just Luke, Leia, Chewbacca, et cetera, et cetera. He comes back because he knows that's what he knows that's the good. He knows that's what's best for the most people. He knows that even though it's not what's best for him, even though it could harm him, doing that, coming back to fight the Death Star, continuing to support the rebel cause, at the end of the day is going to get a better galaxy for everyone. That's why he does it. It's not just, oh, my friends. And that's the thing. That's one of the big differences between chaotic good and chaotic evil, at least in this context, is that chaotic evil would still do something just for their friend, but it's because it's my friend. I don't want to lose my buddy. I don't want to lose the companionship or the respect or the positive feelings or the affection of these people for me. That's why I'm doing it. As opposed to, I'm doing this because it's what's best. I'm doing this because it improves things or because it's right. That is a key motivating difference there. And it really is a difference that only comes out when you dig a little bit deeper, which is where old Guildmaster Dan here just hits a little bit too wrong. But anyway, let me know what you got down in the comments below. See you guys next time when apparently we're going to talk about some chaotic neutral.